What's up, y'all? Welcome to another episode of Sistas in Crime with SistasinCrimewithShiandToy. My name is Shina, short for Shamia.
My name is Toy, short for Latoya.
And welcome back to another episode, y'all. So today we are getting into the case of Robert Lee Yates. This case is coming out of Washington, the state of Washington. This took place in the 70s, 80s, up until the 90s. This is a very notorious serial killer,
Mm.
which when I looked up the case, I was like, man, I had never heard of this man, but just to see how everything panned out, it made me a little irritated in some instances, and also just kind of overall just shocked at a few things. But
Yeah.
y'all know what I'm getting ready to say. Y'all please tune in, like, share, and subscribe to our channel. We have a TikTok and a Instagram, Sistas in Crime with SistasinCrimewithShiandToy on all platforms. You can watch the videos, like I said, on YouTube and Spotify. Follow, share, whatever, get the word out there. We are grateful for the people who do tune in to us. But y'all, first, I'm going to do the background today, and then Sis is going to follow up with the murders. So, yeah, we're just going to get into it. Just to repeat, his name was Robert Lee Yates Jr. So, he's been known as other names. So one was the grocery bag killer, Spokane's, I hope I pronounced that right, Spokane's Washington serial killer, or the
Hmm.
Spokane serial killer, right?
Yeah.
So we're going to start with the background. Robert was born on May 27th of 1952 in Oak Harbor, Washington. It said that he was born into a middle-class family. Appearance-wise, a very good family, no issues on the surface. But, they always suspect like what could have caused a person to become a serial killer. So
Right.
typically, the history of serial killers, they have a troubling childhood, or different things, and stuff. But you know on surface wise, that it didn't appear that any of that was going on. So they were able to discover that his grandmother had murdered her husband, his grandfather, okay, with an axe in 1945.
It's giving Lizzie Borden.
Right. When I read it, I said, wait a minute, I had to rewind it, and I played it again.
Hmm.
I said, with an axe. But it
Hmm.
really didn't say why. It never said why. It only said she did it, and they immediately put her in a mental hospital or mental facility after that. So, it that happened. But that was the only thing that really happened in the family. So that still wasn't an indicator for me that he had the potential to be a serial killer. But, they did list that, because he did grow up in a solid home. So that they were kind of saying, his family had that history. But he graduated from Oak Harbor High School in 1970. He was hired by the Washington State Department of Corrections
Child.
as a corrections officer in is it Walla Walla?
Walla
I think.
Walla.
Well, I thought so. So in 1977, he enlisted in the Army, where he became like a civilian transport. Well, he um, used to fly helicopters and airplanes and stuff like that. He was stationed at various countries, also in the United States, including the countries Germany, Somalia, and Haiti. In the 1990s or so. He served 3 years in the National Guard as a helicopter pilot, and he earned several medals. Was somewhat of a decorated veteran. Very good man. They Everybody who they interviewed said you would not suspect this man was a serial killer, because he was so, like, he looked so normal. Like, he was in the military, he had several accolades and stuff like that. So they were just like thrown aback by this. So y'all, he left active duty in April, which they were very like kind of thrown aback by this, because he would have been eligible if he had to stay like a year and a half, in the military. He would have been eligible for full retirement benefits and his pension. So they were, looking at him sideways. Now to go back, that's a very important aspect, very important point I need to go back to. So in regards to his childhood. So in his childhood, like I said, they always try to pinpoint, what is the serial killers, what made them turn into. So there was a traumatic event that happened. So he was raped by a neighbor that was a child when he was young. So I don't think they said it was a child, but I don't think it was like a younger child. I think it was like an older teenager. I'm not trying to say either way it's wrong, but it was like a older teenager. I want to say it was like 16, 17, something like that, if I can recall. But yeah, so he, did have that happen to him. Yes, that could have caused him to commit all these murders. Who knows, whatever they suspect just because grandmother did it, it kind of was in the family, but I don't know. But they did find it very suspicious that he had, left the army, which you'll find out why later. He had left the army to, move back to Washington. So basically, he only served like 20 years in the military, and served 3 years until he got arrested, which my sister's going to get into all of that in 2000. But technically, he served like 21 and a half years. Now, he had 5 kids and a wife. He had his children with his second wife. He had a wife when he was like 21. He got married when he was like 20, 21, something like that. And then they divorced, I think they said after 13 months or something like that. It was a very short-lived marriage or something like that. But he had all his kids with his second wife, whom he married in 1976. He had 4 daughters and 1 son. And they all range from the ages of 1974 to 1989. So we are actually in close age to some of his children. So
Yeah,
I
because
want to know where
I was
they're at.
born in '89. I don't know
Yeah.
which
I was
one that
born
was
in
born in
91.
'89, but that's the best year. You know what I'm saying?
Right. I was
Hmm.
born in 91, so it's not too far off, but yeah. But this man, like, he committed murders between 1975 up until like 1998. My sister's going to get into each one of those, but typical serial killer behavior, kind of focusing his focusing on an area of his victims. So like his victims were mainly like prostitutes, which we'll get into later, which really enraged me a little bit. So yes, my sister's gonna get into the next part.
All right, so now we're at the fun stuff.
We're at the
Murder.
thick of
We're in
it.
the thick of it. Murder. Murder who? I've known him for 2 weeks. He wouldn't murder anybody. I say that every time I hear somebody say the word murder. I'm sorry. That Cat Williams is stuck up here.
Yeah. Well, I haven't heard the clip until you said it. I was like, what is she talking about? And then I
He
watched us
lives
go.
rent free up here. He lives rent free.
Right.
But okay, y'all. So as my sister stated, this man, I was gonna say something else. I can't say it on here. Yates committed his first murders in 1975, and that's when he shot and killed 2 college students. Now, also as my sister stated, many of his victims were sex workers working along East Sprague Avenue, which they kind of called it the was it kind of like the Skid Row? Like if you know LA talk, it's like Skid Row. Every place has that area where you know what the prostitutes did. Like around here is Howard Street. Like you know that's where they stroll it. Okay, I'm just like everybody know the prostitutes on Howard
I know you ain't talking about no Howard Street.
Howard Street. So this was the Howard Street of Washington. Okay,
Oh my
so,
goodness.
and a lot of them had substance abuse issues. So he
Hmm.
is horrible for preying on people like that. So
Yes.
oftentimes he would do drugs with them and other sex workers. He initially solicited them for their services, and then after having sex with them, often in his Ford van, sometimes in a white Corvette, he would kill them and dump their bodies in rural locations. So All of his victims died of gunshot wounds either to the head or the heart. 8 of his victims, those murders were committed with a Raven .25 caliber handgun, and the attempted murder, because he did have one getaway, we'll get into that, was also linked to the same model of handgun. So, starting with those 2 college students in 1975, this occurred July 14th. They were Patrick Allen Oliver and Susan Patricia Savage. Bear with me, y'all, because these names, it's a lot to get through, but we're going to get there, okay? So
Mm-hmm.
they were found shot in the head near Walla Walla, which is crazy because I just connected the dots that that's what he was working as a prison guard. The jail
And
in
y'all
Walla
about to see
Walla
later. Y'all
in
about to see later.
75.
Yes. Y'all
I
about to
just
see
connected the
later.
dot.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yes. Yeah. Because when
Oh,
I was watching it, I said, "Oh, the y'all." I'll say it later. I'll say it
okay.
later. Yeah.
So they were last seen the day before on their way for an afternoon swim and a picnic. That's so sad.
Mhm.
Now he gave it a rest for a little bit. We get into Stacy Elizabeth Hahn on December 28th, 1988. The partial skeleton of Stacy, who was 23 at the time. And I don't know if I stated Patrick and Susan's age. Patrick was 21 and Susan Patricia Savage was 22. Okay, so these young people. So Stacy was 23. Her body was found near Big Lake. She had last been
Mhm.
seen on July 7th, so she was found like 6 months after she had disappeared. And
Yeah.
he basically picked her up in Han while she was working as a sex worker in his van. Next, he gave it another little break by what 8 years, because now we're getting into 1996. We have Shannon Renee Zelensky. And on June 14th, she was 38. She was found shot in the head in Meade. Her partially nude body was badly decomposed and dumped in a wooded area near a school bus stop. What is wrong with you?
He's
Not
crazy.
near the
He's
baby, the
crazy.
school bus stop. Oh,
Yes.
okay.
Where the kids were.
Where
Mm.
the children were. So now she did have Zelensky did have a lengthy criminal record and worked as a sex worker as well. That don't mean nothing. She still did not deserve to have her life taken away from her. Now, next we have, I hope y'all keeping count. We at 4.
We have
Okay.
4. Mm-hmm.
Now we have Heather Louise Hernandez on August the 26th, 97. That's my grandma's birthday, rest in heaven. The body of Heather, she was age 20, was found in an overgrown lot in Spokane. She was shot 5 days earlier, according to detectives, and she had only recently come to the area within a few weeks. And in that time frame, she had been arrested twice for sex work. Again, does not matter. She did not deserve to have her life taken away from her by this idiot. Next, we get into, so he was busy in 97, y'all, because now we get
Listen.
into,
So y'all, do y'all see? It's giving Pee Wee Gaskins all
yes,
over again.
yes,
Right.
99, between 96 and 97, he was busy. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
97, November the 5th, we have, no, I'm sorry, I skipped ahead. On August the 26th, 97, oh, we have another one, Jennifer Ann Joseph. She was 16, a teenager.
The
She
child.
was found shot in the head in a field in Spokane. Police had found a brown towel and a brown hair belonging to a white male at the scene. So after, Jennifer's parents had divorced, she kind of dropped out of school and moved to Tacoma, Washington. She started using methamphetamines. She became involved in sex work, and she had only been there for a month when this man killed her. Now we're getting in the latter part of 97. We have Darla Sue Scott. So on November the 5th, her remains, she was 29. Her remains were found in a shallow grave near a golf course in Spokane. So she had a history of drugs and sex work, and she died of a gunshot wound to the head. They don't know exactly when. They pinpointed it sometime between September or October. So she could have been out there dead for like a month or two. All right, now we get into Melinda Lee Mercer. These bodies just piling up, y'all. Melinda Lee Mercer. So on December the 7th, 97, she was 24. She was found shot and dumped in a field in Tacoma. He dumping everybody in Tacoma and Spokane. So she had been shot several times and had 4 plastic bags covering her head. Now, for her murder, at his trial, he revealed that even after she was shot in the head, that she had managed to chew through 2 of her bags before she unfortunately ended up passing away to her injuries. She actually did not have a criminal record, and she was like one of the only ones that was not doing any sex work, and she was working as a waitress. Okay. Now we have Sean Lynette Johnson. On December 18th, 97, her body, she was found with 2 gunshot wounds and 2 plastic bags covering her head, about a mile away from the remains of Darla Scott. She had been missing since October the 29th, so this is another one had been missing about 2 months. She was 36. The bodies just piling up, and they just finding people in fields and parking lots and everything, honey. Now we're going to get into December 26th, 97, the day after Christmas. The bodies of Sean Ann McClellan, who was 39, and Laurie Page Wasson, Wason, I don't know how to pronounce that, 31. They were both found in a gully in Spokane. So both of these women were shot twice in the head, and their heads were wrapped with 3 plastic bags each. Wasson, I'm going to just say Lori. So Lori had last been seen on November the 3rd. I hate that. She was a devoted mother to a 12-year-old son. She did have issues with addiction, specifically heroin. So she had 6 years of sobriety and kind of had a relapse. Then she began working as a sex worker to fund her drug habit. Now with Sean Ann McClellan, she also struggled from heroin as well. She had been arrested early November for forging a check on one of her binges, and she had been missing since December the 18th. Also with Lori, she had like her own business or something where she trained, and I think she bred Rottweilers, and she operated an adult family home that was licensed by the state. So that touched me because I have a passion for elderly disabled. Y'all know that I said that a million times. And children. All right, so I promise you I'm almost there.
Just stay with us, y'all. We still got a
Listen,
few more.
stay with me. I know I'm like at number 10 by now, okay? Now we have Sunny Gale Oster. On February the 8th, 1998, Sunny, who was 41, was found shot to death, kind of similar, the same way, McClellan and Wasson were found in a rural area of Spokane. She was a mother of 2. She had last been seen in October, and she disappeared the day after she completed a drug treatment program. So he's preying on these people's vulnerability, which is really unfortunate. Now we have Linda Marie Mabin on April the 1st, 98, on April Fool's Day. The remains of Linda, who was 34, they also called her Barefoot Linda. I can relate to Linda. They should call me Barefoot Toya.
Yes, because you be outside all the time with your shoes off.
I don't care. I'm country, y'all. I'm not about that shoe life. But anyway. So she was found in Spokane about 100 yards from the bodies of Sean and Lori. She was just so he getting real sloppy because you just dumping them all together at this point.
Which
So
typically serial killers do. They
yeah,
get cocky. They figure like, oh, I did all of this. Because I think even at this point he was hidden in plain sight.
but you're exactly right, and I think he was thinking they would never expect a decorated veteran like
Yeah.
real unfortunate. But this way you start to get sloppy because now you really lumping these bodies together. Like you ain't even put no effort in it no more.
Right.
But Linda was shot once with 2 black plastic bags covering her head. She had been working as a sex worker as well, and she had been missing since November 22nd. Okay. Now we got like hell at this point. I'm tired. He wasn't tired because I'm tired for him. But
Yeah.
now we
He had
have
got very sloppy at that point because, like
yes.
I was saying, like he was just like hidden in plain sight. He
Hmm.
was like, I think the cops were saying he had started hiding bodies, like no longer like in the outskirts of
Yeah.
different areas, but like in the city limits at some
Yeah.
at some
Like
points.
I
Like
can really see him
yeah,
just pulling up in his van and just pushing it out and rolling and just keeping it
and
moving. Like
rolling.
he not even caring.
He
They
got
put no
cocky.
effort. Yeah,
Yeah,
real cocky. But
yeah,
sometimes they be saying people be wanting to get caught. Like
yeah,
you know what I
yeah.
mean? Because it really for serial killers it really doesn't mean anything if people don't know you did it. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
All right, so now, yeah, I might need some water. We get into Melody and Murphy.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so sometime in mid-May 1998, Melody, who was 43, went missing. She was considered a victim of the same killer due to her history and association with other victims. But unfortunately they did not find her body until 6 months after Robert was arrested, and he confessed to it, and I guess he led them to her body. Guess where this man buried her? He buried this one, but guess where?
Y'all ain't go guess.
Beneath his bedroom window. So if y'all watch American Monster, there's an episode Robert Lee Yates and 2 of his daughters are speaking. His children was playing outside, just
It was a family house. It was their family house, y'all.
and they just playing outside in this yard, and it's a body under there.
But they allege that he did this to basically keep control of this crime scene, like kind of like a reward, like a that sort of thing, just to know, like, oh, this body's right here and no one knows about it. Just a really a really sick freak, if you ask me.
But I want to know how you bury a body and don't nobody see it in
That
your
was
yard.
my question
In your yard.
because with the way it was, he had like stakes surrounding the grave. They had a picture of it, and I was like, how did he get a body to his house, dig a hole, bury the body, cover it up with no one? The
Cause
only way
see
I could
him.
see that he got away with it is if he was in an area where it was like secluded and no one, he had really no neighbors for miles or something like that. That's the only way I could say that he
But
possibly could have got away. But that was strange to me too.
could the wife ain't noticed? The kids would like, did you send them out of town or something while you do this one weekend or something?
That could
You know what I
possibly be.
mean?
Yeah, that was a question I had. I said, how was he able to get his family away for that period of time for them
To bury
to
a body.
bury a body, and then they come back and don't think anything suspicious? I don't know.
Like you don't see this fresh ground? Cause I walk around my house and I be knowing what's what. Like if
Yeah.
something out of place, I'm like, wait a minute, you know.
Right.
But
Right.
like when I was doing the research, I was like, well, how was he able to do that with not being detected?
Yeah.
But I didn't think that maybe it was a situation where he was in a rural area and doesn't
Mm-hmm.
have close neighbors like I do over here. And, maybe he just sent the family away for a weekend or something like that. I don't know how the man did it, y'all.
Yeah.
But I don't know.
But
And I
he.
want to know why her. Why you choose to bury her out of
Yeah.
all these victims?
But I'm gonna tell you, I have a suspicion. Like when we go through the victim, I have a suspicion because like y'all will see, like she's the reason. It's Jennifer. That's the one you were saying that he buried by his house. Who was that?
That's Melody.
Melody. No. So we'll wait until later on. But I don't know what the significance of him hiding her, like burying her on his property. I don't know the significance of that.
It's something with that, I feel. But
Mm-hmm.
we might not ever know, but I can
Yeah.
speculate.
I don't want to tarnish him.
Allegedly.
He doesn't deserve to speak.
He don't. So now we're at what, 13? We're at 13 victims. We got a couple more to go.
Whew.
So we have Michelin Joanne Durning, who was 47. On July the 7th of 98, she was found shot in the head in Spokane. The .25 caliber bullet casing was still in her hair, and she was found nude and partially obscured by a hot tub cover. So Michelin was the daughter of a Marine Corps colonel. She grew up
Mm,
a military brat, graduating from high school in Virginia and attending Palomar College in California before moving to nearby San Diego to be an executive secretary. She was married and had one son. However, she unfortunately ended up on drugs. Therefore, she lost custody of her son and ended up moving to Spokane in 97, the year before she was murdered. She
mhm,
worked a variety of jobs from ranch hand to a nursing assistant. And she had a friend, which was a computer instructor she met in San Diego, and he ended up helping her find an apartment and befriending her. But later on, he kind of moved away. So
mhm,
again, drug use. It didn't say she was a sex worker though. But now we get into Christine Smith. Christine Smith was the only survivor of Robert Lee Yates. So she is not a murder victim. She is a victim, but she was one that got away. And this occurred on August the 1st of 98. She filed a police report for assault and robbery after she was hit in the head during a sex act. So she described this man being 50 years old, about 5'10", 175 pounds, with sandy blonde hair. Described his vehicle as a 70s era black van with an exterior yellow orange stripe, bucket seats, wood paneling, and a raised bed. Like, she gave all the details. Like, come on, Christine.
mhm.
Um, and she also told the police that the man told her that he was a National Guard helicopter pilot and had 5 children.
And that's literally that's listen, that was his mistake. But y'all like, but my sister gonna get into it. But that was the thing about her.
Yeah.
She survived,
Yes.
and I guess he thought he probably told all his victims that, and then
Yeah. Because he
they
thought they
ended
were gonna
up
die.
yeah.
Um, but the police actually discovered bullet fragments still in her hair, so she was unaware that she had actually been shot. And after they showed her a photo of Yates, she saw a photo of him in the newspaper. I'm sorry. She immediately contacted the police and said, "Hey, that's the man who assaulted me." But she's the only known survivor, and they actually asked him, Robert Yates, to give a DNA sample on September 19th after he was stopped. But he refused, saying that it's way too extreme of y'all to request this of a family man such as myself.
What they got to do with you? What they got to do with you needing to provide a DNA sample?
We
You a
see
family
all
man.
the time family men murder.
Yes.
Like, usually
Yes.
be their wives, but
Yeah.
you know that don't mean nothing.
Yeah.
And but my question for the police is, you stop there? You let him
Yeah.
tell you that? I mean, I know
Yeah.
you can't demand it unless you have a search warrant. So, I mean, unless you have a warrant or something. But so maybe they didn't have enough at the time. But I want to know, what was the police reaction or response to that? Because just because you're a family man does not omit you from being a suspect. Like,
But like I said I was gonna say this later on. Okay, see, the reason why they didn't really work hard to pin him immediately is because these were prostitutes and sex
and they
workers,
didn't care.
and they didn't care. Just
They didn't
because
care.
these are prostitutes and sex workers does not mean they don't deserve the justice that anyone else would.
It's just like you said, like Pee Wee Gaskins. He was killing, like, I don't want to say hobos, like hitchhikers. He was killing
Yeah,
hitchhikers and like just people who don't have anybody, kind of make the perfect victim, because there's not gonna be, 9 times out of 10, a lot of people on, in the streets using drugs and stuff like that. There's not gonna be anyone looking for them.
yeah.
So
Unfortunately,
unfortunately, so they made the perfect victim for him, because how we up to what, how many bodies we at now? We up
14,
to
15.
15, because Christine
Mm-hmm.
don't count because she survived. We up
Yeah,
to 15 bodies. Like,
yeah.
make it make sense.
Mm-hmm. But that's the reason they were dragging their feet, because they were prostitutes. You know, unfortunately, they just, I feel like, you know, this is my perspective. They just
Yeah,
didn't see
they didn't
why it
care.
would, you know, they don't deserve. I mean, not that, I wouldn't say that. Well, yeah, they don't deserve justice because,
Mhm.
you know, for whatever reason. I was like, but when you have a lot of women, I don't care if it was one, I don't care if it was 25, they
Yes.
deserve justice. Like, it's murder.
Like I said,
It's
from
murder.
96 to 97, the
Yes.
bodies was racking up. How are
Yes.
y'all not doing an extensive, and we have DNA testing at this point. How
Yeah.
are
That's
y'all
not
not
an
doing
excuse.
an extensive enough search to figure out who is killing these women? But again, as Sisters in Crime speculates, it's because they were sex workers. They can do what they want to do with their bodies. That does not
Yeah.
give them the right, give anyone
Yeah.
the right to take their lives.
Yeah. It's murder. You know, you can feel how you want to feel about sex work or whatever, but it's murder.
Oh,
Murder.
honey.
Murder.
But let it have been somebody rich and or famous or a politician's daughter, anything
Mhm.
like that. Oh, y'all would have
Mhm.
moved hell and high
Hot
water
water. Yep.
to get this man off the streets.
Definitely.
The man was killing since 75.
Yep.
All right, I'm gonna get off my soapbox. Okay, I got one last victim, and then I'm gonna let y'all take it over because my mouth is tired. Okay. Now, lastly, we have Connie Lynn Ellis LaFontaine. Girl, I'm here for the last name LaFontaine. I like that.
Hmm.
So on October 13th, 98, Connie was 35. Her body was found in a ditch in Tacoma. She was shot once in the head and had 3 plastic bags covering her head. She previously worked as a hairdresser in Spokane, but she fell into drugs and sex work about 6 years after she moved. And she ended up moving because her son passed away. He had been waiting for a heart transplant. So I'm completely, y'all never know what people be going through. So let's not judge people just because they're workers or are on drugs or anything like that. Everyone doesn't have the mental capacity to be able to cope with things like that.
Yep.
So um she had she grew up on Turtle Mountain Indian Reservation, and her mother had moved to Spokane when she was still in high school. So she was back and forth between Washington State and North Dakota. So she was like worked as a secretary for a tribal organization when she was only 17. She became a mother of a daughter early in life, but she had an abusive marriage. So she just had a rough life. Out of her 3 children, the only one to survive was her daughter. And that was the first one she had. She lost both of her sons in childhood. One died of SIDS. If y'all don't know what that is, that's sudden infant death syndrome, and the other of a heart condition. So, that's why I try to extend people grace, because this baby went through a lot.
Yeah. Yeah.
Went through a lot. Um, and her father, said, of course, as we suspected, that the youngest child said the last boy's death for the heart with the heart condition is what contributed to her struggles with heroin, because she was devastated, and rightfully so. She's a mother.
Hmm.
She tried to get into treatment for her addiction problem, but her daddy said it just didn't work, and that was his final victim, unfortunately. So now I'm gonna let Shy get into the rest of
All right, so we're going to go back a little bit. So, in the case of Jennifer Joseph, they were able to recover a towel. It was a brown towel with brown hair in it. So, of course, that was kept for evidence. Yates was arrested in April 18th of 2000 for the murder of Jennifer, because they were actually able to, of course, see that the hair in the towel was his, and also after searching his white Corvette, they found some of her blood in that car as well. So they were able to arrest him for murder. Now, they had previously pulled Robert over in this vehicle, but there was a miscommunication between, well, one of the detectives misread back because they filed a police report. The detective misread and thought he read Camaro instead of a Corvette. So there was an
it.
incident
Idiot.
where they Right. So they didn't even realize that they had been on him and not even detecting that they had. But they got Corvette and Camaro confused. All right. So, like I
Dumbass.
said, they searched the car, found her blood. They were able to tie him to the murder. Then, of course, tied him to the other 12 victims. In 2000, he was charged with 13 counts of first-degree murder and 1 count of attempted murder because, by the grace of God, that young lady survived. And it just took me out when she was like, she was just ran and she did feel pain in the back of her head. But honestly, what did she thought he had just like struck her
Yeah.
or something like that. But she didn't know like she had been shot. Like there was actual
I've
bullets.
heard like
Uh-huh.
people who have been shot and survived describe it as feeling like just a sting, and they
Yeah.
didn't realize it until they
Right.
saw the blood. I
Right.
don't ever want to experience it, period. But I'm just
No.
saying,
Yeah.
I mean, it was shocking to me because I think like somebody had
Hmm.
to tell her she had been shot.
Yeah. Yeah. But thank God she went to the police and everything. So all of that contributed to his arrest. Right. So in order to change his sentencing to all of these to from the death penalty to these this enormous amount of years he was supposed to be in jail for, which he's not gonna. He was sentenced to 408 years, y'all. But this man ain't gonna. I don't understand that part. Just say life, because I guess that's for the dramatics of it, because this man is not gonna live for 408 years. Um, but in order to avoid the death penalty, he did confess to 2 other murders. So the murder of Sean McLennan. He also that I think that was one of the ones he had confessed to. Okay. So charges were dropped without prejudice in the murder of Sean, so that if he appealed his other guilty sentences, he could be tried for her murder and possibly sentenced to death. So following the hearing, he made a statement apologizing to the families. But in 2001, he was also charged in Pierce County, Washington, for 2 additional murders of 2 additional women. They were able to they were able to determine he murdered them as well. He was sought the death penalty was sought in the deaths of Melinda Mercer in 1997, Connie Ellis in 98, which they thought were also connected to the Spokane killings. So in 2002, he was convicted of those murders and sentenced to death by lethal injection on October 3rd, 2002. So in 2002, the death sentencing was appealed on the grounds that Robert believed that his 2000 plea bargain to be all encompassing, and that a life sentence for 13 murders and a death sentence for 2 constituted disproportionate, freakish, wanton, whatever, however you pronounce that word, and random application of the death penalty. So these arguments were rejected. For once y'all do something right, they were rejected by the court, and an execution date was set for September 19th of 2008. All right, so good, y'all finally did something right.
After
Okay,
however many years.
right. So at this moment, y'all, he remains incarcerated at Washington State Penitentiary. Now, if we go back to the beginning, this is where he started working. 25 years ago, from this point, 25 years ago. So he went from a corrections officer to a prisoner in the prison that he worked at 25 years ago. So he's still there. In July 2015, the court rejected again an effort to overturn his conviction and the death sentence, because his attorneys alleged that he was mentally ill. I'm sorry, that happened in 2013. In 2013. His attorney said that he was mentally ill and through not fault of his own suffers from paraphilic disorder. And the judge basically said, I don't think Mr. Yates helps his cause by relying on the fact that he's a necrophiliac. So that
You're
was
nasty.
that was it for him. So yes, currently he is still there. Yes, so he is still there. So that is the case of Mr. Yates. Like I said, that part, for the fact that the police let him get away with this and many murders, for the fact that y'all don't see any value in the life of a sex worker, drug addicts, and everything. People like are introduced to drugs in different ways. Some people just started off taking painkillers for a surgery or an injury, and they end up, it might start with pills, and then it grows into other things and stuff. So let's change our perspective and who we see value in and who we don't see value in. I think we should see value in everybody. I guess this is a contradiction, because when you murder, I don't see the value in the murderers.
We're gonna leave
But
that up to God.
yeah, but yeah, that's what I said. I leave judgment up to God, but this man was tripped. This is another Pee Wee Gaskins all over again, y'all.
But he lucked up by getting taken off that death row though, because if it had not been for that sentencing,
Yeah, yeah.
2018,
He,
baby, they was gonna put you under.
yeah, if
I
it
said,
wasn't for
not
that
him
plea
fighting
bargain,
for his life after he was taking everybody else's.
yes, yeah. But he said that was disproportionate, basically evil and stuff. And I was like, but you don't see your actions as evil?
I mean, I had to say eye for an eye, but
Yeah,
I wouldn't
yeah,
have been mad if they would
yeah,
have put him to death by lethal injection. You wouldn't have heard nothing from me.
right. Yeah.
But y'all, that's the infamous case of the grocery bag killer. I don't know what the grocery bags are supposed to do, because they ain't gonna muffle the sound of no bullet.
I don't know. I think that was just kind of something he threw in there, because that was random. Like that, those are things he did later, towards the end of his murder career. If that's what his
I'm
killing.
thinking like maybe he did it one time and it got hyped up so much. He was like, well, let me, this is
Yeah,
gonna be,
he probably heard it on the news,
yeah, like
and
the Zodiac killer or something like that.
yeah. But he definitely, like, he because even at his job, where was he working at that time? He was working, and he was actually questioned at his job, and they were like, he was just sitting there. I forgot which murder it was. He was working, I don't think he was working at the prison. He was working at another job, and he was actually approached, because I think they found her body close to where he worked. Was that at the prison?
He did, they did find somebody near the prison, but I don't
Yeah.
know. It was the two college students yep, it was the two college students that were found near the prison. Because I remember when I went over there, you said we was gonna come back to that.
Yes.
They were found near the prison, yeah.
Yeah. And they questioned a lot of them at the jail, and him being one of them. But, and they were taught, like, some of the prosecutors and stuff that they were interviewing, they was like, they can't imagine the thrill he got for being questioned about the murders that he's committing, but no one knows about it and stuff like that. And yeah, like, and I was like, oh my God, he's insane.
Like
Most of
what?
these, but
Please.
it just makes me wonder, like, what drove him to that? Because I get that he was raped, when he was younger, different stuff like that. But you just want to know. I wonder, does he have any books out? Did they do a book on him? Like, if he talked about some of this stuff and like why he did it and stuff.
I don't know, but that is something we probably should look into.
Because I want to know, like, not to say that he didn't have a traumatic childhood, but I've definitely heard of worse
Yeah,
cases like Pee Wee Gaskins.
his was
I
worse.
hate to keep referring back to him, but it just sounds a lot similar to me. But it's a lot where, like, Pee Wee went through a lot. Like, he went through sexual assault, like different stuff, abuse from his mother's boyfriends and all that stuff. He went through all of that stuff. So that's why I was like, what he Like, what drove you, sir? Like, why did you do that? And you
Right.
had a whole family. And the crazy thing about it, when I saw a picture of Robert, I said, I just seen a man like that in the grocery store. I said, he looked
He looked just like your neighbor, just like a
yeah.
random guy.
Yeah,
Yeah.
he looked like the one you gonna see early in the morning or late in the afternoon buying some bread and milk,
Or some,
just some,
picking up coffee at the gas
yeah,
station.
some cashews or something. He
Yeah, I'm
don't look
trying to run
like
in
a
there to
little,
pay for my gas, and he up there just talking to the cashier, just
yeah,
fixing his coffee.
yeah. How how you
He
doing
get
this
that look.
morning? How
Yeah,
you doing this morning?
it's a cold one, ain't it? They calling for rain.
Well, well, all right, I'm gonna head on out. Yeah, I got. He just looked normal to me. Like, I don't know. Like, yeah,
It's weird, y'all, but
yeah,
let us know your thoughts. Please like, share, comment, subscribe. What y'all think about the grocery bag killer? We ain't gonna get a man too much clout. You know what I mean? Like, you where you
yeah,
deserve to be for the rest of your natural born life.
exactly.
And ain't nobody mad about
Yeah. But it's just crazy. You end up being a prisoner in the same prison you was working in. I wonder how that's panning out for him.
it. I ain't heard no incidents since he been behind bars, so
I hope he was a nice corrections officer, because if
mm.
you weren't,
And imagine how that would be. Because a lot of times people being in positions, they be there for a while. Imagine how that is being a prisoner and your former coworkers are now your prison guards.
yeah. I ain't even think about it from that perspective. Maybe they put him in another area that he didn't work in or something like that. Maybe. I
Oh,
don't know
he
though.
gonna encounter, as long as he in there, been in there, he done encountered somebody he used to work with.
Oh, of course. That
He done
wasn't that
encountered them on
long.
some level.
Yeah.
No,
That was just 25 years. It's a long time. But very well, people who he worked with could probably still be working there.
exactly.
Yeah.
Like, no, sir. Ain't nobody gonna miss you. But yeah, big
Mm.
ups, prayers to the families of these victims. Very unfortunate. We've got to do better.
Yeah.
That's all I'm saying. You got any closing thoughts, Pooh?
No, once again, y'all get on my nerves. The judicial system, y'all get on my nerves because y'all let these fools get away with so much because y'all don't see value in people unless they are on the straight and narrow or who they're attached to or a public standing that they have in society. That's the only people y'all see value in. And I feel like that's disgusting. So once again, y'all get on my nerves. We gonna head out. I'm not gonna get on my soapbox because I tell y'all every week that people get on my nerves. Y'all should already know. So
And
that's
just
all I
one last thing I'm gonna add to
have.
that. Just make me think about it.
Mm-hmm.
When people are killed or whatever the situation may be, please stop bringing up their records
Yes.
and they arrest records in their history. Why does
Yes.
that matter?
Yes, they're notorious for that. Well, look in a further background search was done, and they determined that they wasn't squeaky clean. It doesn't matter if they were murdered. It doesn't matter. None of that matters.
None of it.
None of it.
None of it. Because it kind of sets this precedent that, oh, it ain't that, they kind of deserved it, or it's not that bad. It's like the riffraff, taking out the riffraff.
Mm-hmm.
That's what it kind of sets, as if these people don't have a right to simply exist. And
Yes.
that pisses me off. I really went back and forth as to whether I should even mention the stuff I found in my research, but everywhere mentioned it, like such and such had an arrest for sex work and da 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 and such, but it
Mm-hmm.
doesn't matter. It don't
Mm-hmm.
matter.
Their lives still matter. Their lives still matter. So
Yes.
all of this pulling back their past history, or they did drugs, and
So
she left her son, and
your mama
and
probably did
this
drugs.
it right.
Like,
The only difference between sometimes y'all and them is the fact that their lives are put on their lives are magnified because they've been murdered, and of course it's publicized. Your business is kept in your family. Like, that's the only difference. If something were to happen to you, they do the same thing to you, and all
thank
your
you.
family business will be brought for. How would you feel? None of that matters. So stop doing it.
I just had to throw that out there. I'm off my soapbox, but yeah, stop it.
Yeah.
All right. That pisses me off.
Yes.
But we gonna get on out of here, y'all. We'll be right back next week with yet another murder. Maybe not
Yep.
murder. Maybe we can do something lighter. I
Let's
don't
do
know.
something lighter because y'all
Yeah.
starting to miss. It's close to Christmas time, so we're probably gonna get off of this. You know,
Yeah.
we need to find something fun to
We need
do
to
for
be
Christmas.
with our families, you know. Because the
Yes.
thing about true crime, while I love it, sometimes it weighs up here.
Well, for me, it makes me scared because, like, I
Mm-hmm.
have things to do and I can't take my husband all the time. So I was like, I'd be like
I'm right there with
looking
you.
out the, like, I'd
I'm
be looking out
terrified.
the door, like,
I'm terrified. I don't even leave. I don't leave the house
yeah,
most of the time.
yeah,
Like
yeah,
work,
mm-hmm,
family,
yep,
church.
yep,
Half the time I order Instacart for my groceries. I don't
yeah,
be trying to be out here with y'all.
yeah,
That's why I don't, and I don't do. I'm not popular. People don't really know me for real, cause I like it like that. I like my
yeah,
privacy. I
yep,
mind my business and I stay out of y'all way.
yeah. And I don't be talking junk too much on here either because, like, I don't want y'all finding me. That's why,
Right.
like, I don't want y'all finding me or anything like that. So, or none of y'all people to find me. We just report these cases. Uh,
Don't get mad at us for reporting the
don't get mad
details.
at us. We're just presenting the facts, and that is all.
That's it. All hearts and minds clear.
Look, I just came to dance. That's it.
I just give y'all some true crime. That's it.
Yep,
All
we
that
deliver
other,
the news, and that's it,
we don't want
y'all.
no parts.
No,
I promise
none,
you.
none.
We don't want no parts. I be so far out the way. People gotta call me to see if I still exist. I do
Yes,
not be playing like.
yes, yes,
Mm-mm.
yes,
But all right. Again, we'll be back, but we don't know if it's gonna be with murder. We might need to do something a little lighthearted.
yes.
Um, but y'all stay tuned because 2024 right around the corner. And you know what? We're gonna get together. We gonna be doing some brainstorming. We're gonna be dropping some stuff. Okay.
Exactly. Outside of murder, we're gonna still do some murder
Yeah.
stuff, but outside of
Yeah.
murder, we already do the after show where we
Mhm.
talk about current events. That's all, But like I was saying, a couple episodes, like lighter stuff and
Yeah.
incorporating other things into our content, just to give everybody a little something,
Yeah. So it don't have to be heavy every week.
Yeah,
But still, stay prayed up.
yeah. Because
Keep
after
Jesus.
the case with Nick, I'm sorry, what's her name, Miss Ramroot, that whole
Yeah.
case, that just really, it just upset
Yeah.
me, and that was real heavy. So I was like, we do need to do something, like we
Well,
need to, yeah. But yeah, it's
okay.
okay. Anyway, y'all, we are signing out. Y'all, please don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to Sistas in Crime with Shine Toy on all platforms: YouTube, Instagram, TikTok. The only thing we are not on is Facebook, because Facebook is, yeah.
Oh no,
So
I ain't doing.
yeah,
I don't do Facebook no more.
no, but y'all stay blessed, stay safe. We love y'all. Thank you so much for tuning in, and we'll see y'all on the next one.